Today is Tuesday, November 19th, 2024. The time is 3:45 p.m. I will now call the Policy Committee meeting to order. Ms. Kenny, is there a quorum present?
Yes, there is.
All right. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Tara. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Wendy. Any discussion? Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. There are no review of policies this time. There are no revisions of policies this time. This meeting is solely to look at a new policy that has been sent back to the Policy Committee from the school board. It's policy 606.5, library materials. So one of the things that I think what we should probably look at doing here is, I think in your packets are, Ms. Kenny, are there packets, do they have?
I didn't give them packets because it's in notebook.
Oh, okay. So what I did was I went through and took the information that was sent to me. I've had no new information sent to me since the board sent this back to Policy Committee. So this happened at a board meeting. I don't remember the exact date, but they sent it back to say, we want it to go back to Policy Committee. We want them to look at and fine tune a few more things. And then they said they wanted people to send information to me, board members to send information to me. And I did not receive actually anything after that. It was all up to that meeting. So I don't know how we want to do this, but before I ask if there's a motion to approve it, we can look to potentially make amendments to it, or to at least look at what is out there. The policy that we have here already has the red lines in it from our first time. All right, so this is not the MSBA policy. This has the changes that we've made in it. And what I mean by that is, if you look, the notes have all been crossed out, which means that those will be removed. Okay? And if you look on page 606.5-5, section D2F, we have added age 18 or older. Okay? And that is the only modifications that we've made to this point, to this document. Okay? So is everyone okay just kind of discussing what I have received and then making amendments based off of, I guess, a couple different pieces? All right. All right. So there were 3 emails that were sent to me. Two emails deal with section 5 and 7, right? And then one email deals with section 7 2D, which is a lot of questions just around the procedures and the staffing of that committee, some of that. More clarification type things. So I'm going to hold on that one for right this second. And I just want to focus on section 5. So if we take the policy and we go to section 5, which is on page 606.5-3, one person said, section 5, selection of library materials, A5, leave as written. Materials selected shall meet high standards. The more categories required, the more restrictive the selection process becomes and is more subjective. Right? Another person said, same section, section 5, library materials shall meet high standards of quality in one or more of these categories. They said remove 1 and insert 2. Their reasoning, this section is the meat of the policy before us. When readability is all that is needed to meet the one standard of high quality required for selection of library material, the policy sets an extremely low standard. This amendment would provide a more reasonable standard. We heard from 2 members of our community with knowledge of existing library materials who both requested this change. I asked the policy committee to join me in increasing this from 1 to a minimum of 2 areas to establish high standards of quality in 2 or more categories. So looking at section 5A, and that would be 5, yes. So we're looking at, 5A5. One person has said, leave it, that reached out to me. One person said, change 1 to 2.
Can I, but Mr. Committee, have a clarification? They said leave the high standards. I like that part. So was it leave as is high standards, right?
They
Or did say
said,
the whole thing. I've got it.
they said,
I'm sorry. I got it right here too.
yeah, they're not, the only thing they're saying to change is, so right now it says library material shall meet high standards of quality in 1 or more of these categories. They're saying they would like for it to say library material shall meet high standards of quality in 2 or more of these categories. And they're presented alphabetically. So I guess I'll open up discussion on whether this committee feels it should be 1 category or more, or 2 categories or more.
Mr. Chair, since nobody's talking here. To me, a high standard means it's got to be more than 1, because if it could be 1, and I was talking to a constituent, and they said, it could be just readability. Well, is that really a high standard? And I think actually somebody presented before the school board, I think it was on one of the public forums, a 3-minute one. So I'm thinking it should be 3 or more, but I don't think it should be 1 or more. So.
Okay.
And I am looking at it from the lens of early childhood and early elementary. And for us, readability probably is one of the most important factors that we look at when we're trying to get young children interested and motivated to read. We want it to be something that they're going to be successful with. And I understand this policy is for everyone all the way up through our 12th grade graduates and people going to PSEO, but I don't want us to just focus on the high end when we have so many littles that are at the cusp of reading.
Okay.
So to me, readability is a very important statement.
I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit. So readability is important.
Yes.
Are there other ones on here that are important that you would say, I guess what I'm asking is do you think 1, or do you think 1 or more, or 2 or more?
I truly believe that as people have looked at this, they've wanted to be very clear that they didn't want to tie us into something, but rather allow the breadth, because we are such a all-encompassing system. So for some, it might be picture books all the way through graduation. And for them, that is readability.
Mm-hmm.
And high interest, obviously. I don't want to bring it so narrow that some of our learners are going to be left off the side.
Okay.
That's my concern.
If I can piggyback off what Wendy said, from an elementary lens, I think that 2 would be able to hit on both of those. Readability and high interest would, I think, fit the ticket for our early childhood and elementary kiddos, and even, to your point, some of our other learners, that's what they need. And I, too, would be concerned if we went beyond 2, that it might not be able to bear the scope of all of our learners.
Okay.
Coming from the upper elementary, I would agree with you. The high interest and the readability are huge because we're dealing with a lot of readers that don't want to be readers right now, and you have to find something that hits those two things, otherwise they're not going to read.
Okay.
You know, you're trying to grab their attention, you're trying to make them interested in it, and if they're not, it is very hard. So if you do scrutinize it too much, I think we're going to leave some of those kiddos out.
From a secondary lens, I agree as well. The two-piece makes sense to me. A point of clarification on my end here is when we look at section 5, there are 6 numbers. Are we grading it by the criteria of all 6 numbers along with 5 A, B, C, D, E, F, G? So are we saying that it has to hit 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're debating if it's 1 or 2 areas in 5 and 6? Am I understanding that correctly?
No, it would be 2 or more areas in section 5.
Okay, so we're not looking at the sections 1, that wouldn't be included in that assessment? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6?
No,
Okay.
it would those would only fall, my understanding is those would only fall within section 5A5.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
I agree with the arguments that you have made, and Nick, you've made. And you, Tara, I think looking at it from, like the elementary, the little ones, I think I would agree too. So I would go along with that.
All right, so if we're going, I'm just going to do some consensus stuff here rather than go through all the amendments and everything. We can absolutely do amendments if we, if we don't have consensus. But what I'm hearing is consensus is that this committee would be fine changing the 1 to 2. Any further discussion around that? Okay. All right, so just for the record, the committee will be proposing that section 5A5 will now read, library materials shall meet high standards of quality in 2 or more of these categories, presented alphabetically. Okay. All right, moving on to the next part is section 7. So section 7 is on page 606.5-5. It's actually at the bottom of page 4 and then goes on to page 5. All right. The section that we're looking at is D2, so that's actually the middle of page 5. Thank you, Nasco. All right, so one person sent to me, section 7, reconsideration of specific library materials, D2, leave as written. A review committee should consist of professionals who are in the field of education. These professionals are trained and know what library and media materials are needed and best for students. It is important to have members of the school district community, and they will have representation on the committee. D4A states the review committee may consult individuals, organizations, and other resources with professional knowledge on school library material, thus involving the school district community more as well. Another person wrote section 7D2. This is section E. They said, remove with no direct connection with the request for reconsideration. Right. Reasoning, the composition of the Library Materials Review Committee is heavy in 5 district staff. As written, the community parental membership is minimal, and restrictions in place shut out those requesting reconsideration, preventing them sharing their knowledge and concerns to the committee. This gives an appearance of disrespect to the concerns of the community and parents. So if we look at section D2,
D2, yeah.
Yeah, D2, I'm looking at the changes here, sorry. D2E, remove with no direct connection with the request for reconsideration. Excuse me. So Any discussion around that? Basically, what it would be is, if I were looking at this, if, person A is the one that lodges the complaint, I don't know if we would consider them to be on the committee, all right? But a relative of theirs or someone that is a friend of theirs or something like that, I think we would allow if we changed that, if that makes sense.
Then we can't say with no, to take that away, because then we're opening it up to the person that made the complaint. We'd have to put in something in place so that it reflects what you want.
Okay.
Do you see my?
Nope, I hear what you're saying now. Yes, I do. That makes sense.
I feel like if the committee's job is to look at this, literature subjectively, you kind of want the opinion as you're going through it with the group not to be persuaded one way or another. Like, you want to look at it as a whole rather than having opinions on either side right away. Does that make sense?
Just-
Might be swayed one way.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. To second that, I agreed. I think we want it to be as non-biased as possible. So yeah, we want to avoid that if possible, yeah.
Anyone else? Any further discussion?
So we're looking at removing that then, right?
Well, so
Or
No,
not.
what?
I've heard
So what
three
do we-
people speak so far about keeping it in. Or if it was removed, to put I don't want to speak for you, but if it was, what I heard Wendy say was, if it's removed, to put a caveat in there that the person who makes the request should not be allowed to be on the committee.
But I agree with everyone here that it needs to be unbiased, and that's from every standpoint. Every stakeholder on that committee needs to come with an open mind as they review it. And I don't know, I'm just gonna put myself out there. If it was somebody that I was a friend of, and they asked me and gave me their reasons for wanting me to be on that committee, I would already have a preconceived notion in the back of my head that my friend wants me to really look at this and sway people one way or another. So I'm torn. That is a concern of mine. And not that I'm easily swayed, mind you. Could I propose that we looked at the first part and we agreed to two standards, two or more high standards. If we can agree to send this through without changes, this is going to come up for revision again. And if we find it doesn't work, then we can make an amendment to look at changing section 7D2E. Would that be amenable to other people?
I think that's an excellent point, is that we're deciding now how the policy starts with us, because it's a new policy. But they can come up for review at any time, but will come up at least once every 3 years.
Yes.
So,
This is a new thing, a new committee, a new, process that we're doing. I think to be more subjective, just to start with a fresh slate and have everybody have their own, open mind when they come into it. If we see that we really want that person there to explain more, then
We can
we can
invite
change
them.
it.
Yeah, we can always invite somebody to come and speak.
okay.
I just think it kind of balances out both individuals who had contacted you
Oh.
with this policy
Okay.
Kind of a compromise for everyone.
Further discussion?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Never mind.
Any further discussion?
On this E.
On this, yes, just this one.
Okay.
So I'm not hearing 100% consensus here, so I would like to do a vote on this. So does somebody want to make? Does somebody want to make a motion on what I'm hearing from mostly is to keep it the way it is? Is anybody interested in making a motion to change it? Anyone willing to make a motion to change it? Anyone willing to make a motion to change it? Okay, hearing none, we will then forego that part of it, and we will keep section D2E, and it will say 2 members of the school district community with no direct connection with the request for reconsideration. When the board asks, either I or Dr. Moore will say, we felt that this was a good concession right now off of the pieces that we've got, with the understanding that this is a new policy, and that if we feel that this is kind of tying our hands, that we can come back at any time and revise it.
Yes.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I think it was at the school board meeting, or maybe I think it was at the school board meeting, because I think I heard Ms. Boudreau say that she thought, that she thought it was an unbalanced committee. Right now, I think there's 9, the way it stands, there would be, if you count the students, there's 9 people that would be directly connected to the school. No, yeah, and only 2 would be probably with the community. So I just want to throw this out there. What about parents? What about some parents on there? What about members of the community not directly connected to the school? This would be, most of them would be taxpayers and voters, and a lot of them have a stake in this. So I'd kind of like to see some parents on here, and I'd like to see some community members that aren't directly really connected to the schools, just for a balance. And we can have it like 5 to 4 or something like that, but I'm just throwing it out there, and I think that would be a good thing. So that's my take on it here.
Okay. So I will, I'm looking at this, 1 member of the school district administration, so that would be district level administrator, 1 principal, 2 teachers. The media specialist, we currently have 1 in our district, so that person may or may not be interested in doing that. So if they're not, then we would reach out into the community, so that could potentially be another community person.
I guess I'm thinking it should be more, because it's really, I think as she said, it's unbalanced.
Okay.
To me it is, and I look at it from, I think there should be parents on it, and I think there should be some members of the community too. And so that's my stand.
Okay.
If we have consensus or not, if it doesn't go through, I can bring it up again at the board meetings.
So what is it that you're,
Well, I think we should have, because it's, the way it looks here, it's 9 members, and really, if you count the student representatives, it's all of the, 7 of them are directly connected to the school. And I think we should have some, well, you could say parents would be 2 in a way, but I think there should be parents, I think we should have a stipulation where there's parents on it, and also some members of the community, not directly involved or connected to the school, because they are the taxpayers, and they do pay our salaries, and they, probably with the library materials and everything, so they do have a stake in it too. So I think we're just leaving out a couple of groups of stakeholders that we should be putting in there. That's my opinion. So that's what I would stand for.
so are you asking to add something in?
I'm saying, do we need that many administrators or whatever? Yes, I think we should put some parents in, and
Okay.
I think we should put some have maybe one or two community members too.
Well, we have members of the community on there.
Yes, but we don't know if we should add maybe not directly connected to the school. Because I think we need to balance this a little bit. And I think that's what probably Ms. Baduro was trying to say. And so I agree with her on that. Maybe you don't agree with me, but that's kind of where I stand.
Well, when I read E, the one we just discussed, I read it as two members of the school district community. What I read with that is that it's two members of the community that live within the district boundaries.
Yes, yes.
So I don't see them as, like, they're members of our community. They're not on the payroll of Faribault Public
No,
Schools.
well, if you count though, it's one member, district admin, principal, two teachers, library, and then two student representatives. That's 7 out of the 9. And I just think it's unbalanced, and it should have some parents on it, and should have some
Okay.
community. That's my stand. And, maybe not everybody sees it that way.
So could the two members of the school district community be the parents? Nothing says that they can't.
If they could be, but still, then we only, it's a 9, we have 7 out of the 9 that are directly connected to the school. And I just think that's a bit of an imbalance, even if you add 2 more. So that's my point, and I think that was her point too. So.
I think the students are part of the community as well, though. I mean, yes, they go to school there, but they're not teaching there. They're not necessarily choosing, books that other people are going to read. They're choosing their own books, but they're not choosing what other people are going to read, so they're not really in charge of picking materials for other people other than themselves. So I guess I would consider them part of the community.
I would say I have a couple thoughts on this, and I haven't spoken much tonight. I would be in favor of adding another section underneath here, adding like a section G and specifying 2 parents, just calling it out as 2 parents. My concern is the day and age that we live in right now. It is incredibly difficult to find people to come in and do things even for pay, which will be the next thing we discuss. So I would be in favor of putting that on there. With a couple understandings. One, I fully understand that it will increase the cost of it, which we'll discuss next. But 2, it might be difficult, and I know it sounds like it's only 2, it might be difficult to find 2. But I don't think that should stop, I don't think that should stop us from putting on there 2 parents. But that's me. So I would be in favor of putting a letter G that says 2 parents of students
Can we say
in our
may?
district. What's that?
Can we say may? 2 parents
Well, now
may?
you're lessening the stance that you just fought for.
I know. But I just think that it's like I said, it's an unbalanced committee, and I think we need to have more of the parents and. So that, I've said it, and I guess
Okay.
I'm not going to argue about it. I think it's clear the way I stand, so.
And I appreciate
Yeah.
that. My question is because I do know how hard it is to get parents
Yeah.
to a committee, any committee,
Yes.
advisory or what, because sometimes parents have 2 jobs that they're working, or they have people they need to take care of. So if we have the 2 parents that come to the committee and they identify themselves as parents, could they also identify as community members and wear 2 hats? If we're having a hard time trying to fill the committee?
It could be, we could say 2 community members or 2 parents or community members. Would that balance it out?
So we're now looking to change E to say 2 parents or 2 community members.
Because that doesn't change the number,
Or we could put in
Yeah,
there
yeah.
and/or.
and/or.
That would
Yeah,
allow us to go
Because
up
that
to
way,
4.
a parent, if they wanted to be on the committee, they could.
Yep.
So if we said and/or,
Yes,
then that would say we could have 2, or we could have 4.
yes, if we have that level of commitment, yes.
Mm-hmm. I'll go along with that.
Can you, just for clarification, shall means all
Yes.
of
Must.
these people would have to be there?
Yes.
Like, so all of these schedules have to add up to have this meeting?
Yeah,
Just
shall,
clarifying.
shall means must,
Thank you.
okay? May is the optional one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm hearing, going back to section 7D2E,
Yep,
we're looking to change that to say 2 parents and/or 2 members of the school district community with no direct connection with the request for reconsideration.
Mhm.
Consensus.
Yep,
Yeah.
Okay. Are you writing this down? Because I lost track of what we're, all right.
complicated.
Okay, that's good. But hey, we're
Hey.
figuring it out.
and then we didn't add G.
And we didn't add G. All right.
Yeah, good. Oh, I have another question. Sorry. On 7B, okay, it's been a while since I read this, but I did read it. 7B, it said a school district employee, student, or a parent, guardian of a school district may request reconsideration of specific library materials. Again, we're leaving out community members and the taxpayers. So I'm having a problem with that too. So. I didn't put that in the writing because I thought I'd bring it up. I should have probably before, but. Because I think we can't leave out the community, or this is, important. I guess probably my bosses are the community, the taxpayers. So maybe, I think it's important that we include community members, who are taxpayers and voters.
Mhm.
So,
How would they know what is in the library? How would the community members who don't have students know what's in our libraries?
It's online. Or you can access,
yeah. Oh,
you can
yeah.
access
You
our,
can-
you can access our library materials
Oh,
through
it's
our
online.
website.
Oh, see, and I'm a hands-on
Community
person.
can-
I go to the media center to get what I need.
There's no more card
no, it's been that way for
catalog.
years.
What? No.
So, yeah, no, all of our, for each school, it's accessed through our website now.
Okay,
Okay, so what I'm hearing is a school district employee, student, parent or guardian,
Parent, guardian, or
community member?
That would be, I would think, cover the taxpayers.
Okay.
They don't have to, but
Discussion on adding community member to the first part of 7B on page 606.5-4.
Mhm.
Give me 1 second. I need to look at our forms. So if we decide to do that, we would also need to change
yes.
our form,
Sorry.
second sentence of our
Mhm.
form, to say community member also. And I think we would match the
Yes.
language that is in E. We would refer to it as school district community member, which
Yes.
means people that reside within our school
Yes.
district.
Yes.
So that we don't have people who live in another school district that are coming to,
Mhm. Yeah.
all right?
Yep.
So if I hear you correctly, we would say a school district employee, student, parent or guardian, or a school district community member
Yes.
may request reconsideration of specific library material on the basis of appropriateness. And then we would make that same change to the second sentence of the form.
Yep.
Discussion? I will say I feel that's a reasonable understanding that there, and I want to be, I feel like now is a good time to say this, because I've done a lot of talking with other districts that have this policy and go through these practices. You go through about one challenge per 6, maybe 8 weeks. And that's pretty quick, actually, sometimes. So it is not it's not a 2-week turnaround process. So you're looking at, usually, if you're full, upwards of maybe 6 challenges per year. Okay? And a lot of districts take the summer off because not only is it hard to find people, it is impossible to find people in the summer that want to come in and do that. So sometimes they say, yeah, we do 4 challenges a year, basically kind of like 1 a quarter, or sometimes 5. So 6 would be like the max. So I just want to be clear that when we open it up to community members, that, you know, that may add more demand when there's not going to be more time for the community, this group to look through them. So, okay? Potentially.
Yeah, I'm not against it. I'm kind of on the fence. I'm just trying to think of both sides. You know, part of me says, well, if, you know, educated people are picking out this, you know, these things, whatever they are, whatever text they are, then, you know, if we want to challenge them, we can. But do we want somebody that obviously is sitting at home just going through our libraries, figuring out, ooh, that shouldn't be there, shouldn't be there? Is it really in our best interest to take those considerations if there are other ones being made by people who see it being used or know their child is reading it and have that reconsideration? I mean, I don't know. I'm devil's advocate, just trying to look at both sides. I don't know. It's kind of one of those things where, yes, they know they're part of the community and they're taxpayers and all that, but do they need a big hand in the schools and what we're doing if we have all these other safeguards and people that can reconsider materials? I don't know. Just putting it out there.
Yeah, this is kind of uncharted water because this type of, while this policy exists for school libraries, it does not exist for public libraries, even though school libraries are public libraries.
Right.
So you're not going to be going down to Buckham West and doing
Right.
this, you
Right.
know?
And most community members aren't going to be coming into Roosevelt Elementary to check out a book. They're going to go to the community library. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I was thinking parents too, but as, was it Wendy, you said, you know, a parent could be part of the community members, they would be included.
Right, parents
So if
are-
we said
it already says
community
parents.
members, this could be a parent too, so that would include, it wouldn't exclude the parents, so. I
Right.
think-
No, they're in.
When
yeah.
parents are already in there.
Yeah,
Well,
they're in
yeah,
there
well,
specifically.
Oh, was, oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's parent or
If I
guardian.
could read, it would help.
Yeah. And
Okay.
then, do we have due process or recourse for the person bringing forth the petition if the committee looks at what they have and say, nope, this is non-reviewable?
No, this is one of those that my understanding is the way it's set up is there will be this many reviews per year. And if we say, okay, there's going to be 6 reviews per year and 25 requests come in, then we figure out how we decide which ones.
Okay,
And I think, I don't want to say that we would draw them out of a hat, because then I think we would be missing the ones that
the
we.
critical ones.
The critical ones that potentially, not that they're not all critical to someone, but that some might be more critical than others. So I think it would be at my designee, which is later in here, to decide which ones are we bringing forward and which ones go on the waiting list,
Okay,
okay? That's my understanding of how that works.
The more I think about it, the more I think it parents and guardians. Committee members are gonna go to the community library. I don't know, I'm leaning more toward leaving them out of it, but that's me. Leaving it as is.
Is this one that we can make a note and say to the board, this was discussed, but at this point, we're not in consensus on adding it, but if the board feels strongly, they can, or it can be something that we can look at in
And
further revisions. Are we comfortable with that?
Yep.
Okay. All right. I have, these are really was there anything else from anyone? Okay. So what I have now are just some kind of questions that go through here that I thought I would answer based on my knowledge. And if anyone feels like they want to discuss some of these, I'll ask for discussion after each one. How does that sound? Okay? All right, so this came from a member, said, here are my thoughts and questions regarding policy 606.5. They all relate to section 7, 2D, and the makeup of the review committee. Okay, so we're going back to page 5, all right? In the makeup of the committee, it states the committee shall include, please note the word shall means will, shall be changed to may. I think no, because then anytime I talk to attorneys on the phone and we start talking about changing shall and may, they get really, really, really scared, all right? So I would say no, we've kind of already discussed that here, so. Are all of these people paid to be on this committee, or is it volunteer? Every committee that I have, every district that I've talked to that does this type of deal already pays their committee members. All right, pays their students to be on the committee, pays their parents to be on the committee, pays their community members to be on the committee, pays their teachers to be on the committee. It's paid. So, in my opinion, once again, referring back to the fact that it's hard to find people, if we said volunteer, it's going to be at least 5 times as hard to find the people. So I'm saying paid. Discussion around that?
The one thing I'll open up to that one is, would we, and again, you get back to the term of shall and may, would it be okay if we word that as like may be paid? Could we open it up to volunteers first? And if we have problems finding people, then we make it paid? Or then are we finding ourselves in kind of a tight situation where some people are getting paid and some people aren't? Is it better to have it one way or the other? I'm just kind of throwing that out as devil's advocate.
Well, we can't have some people getting paid and some people not.
It's unbalanced.
Yeah, so we can't do that. My concern with opening it up to changing that is that how long do we leave it open to volunteers before we say, okay, we're going to start over and now offer to pay people? And how far does that put us behind on reviewing some of these requests?
Absolutely.
So I'm willing to entertain that, and these are expensive, don't get me wrong. These can be, most districts I was talking to, each review was costing them between $8,000 to $12,000 until they kind of got it systemized. And once they did that, they got it down to about $6,000 per review. So.
Well, we can always, we can leave it as shall, but at some point, if we get lots of people banging at the doors, we can change it to that. I don't think that's going to happen.
I love your optimism.
But we can always change it.
Yeah, okay.
So let's leave it at this, and we can change it then at some point.
Any further discussion? Okay. If they are paid, so if they are paid, is it an hourly pay or a project rate per book? Do existing contracts cover this for district employees? So there's a couple questions there. First one is, I would suggest that we do It'll be based on an hourly rate of pay, which is based off of the teacher's contract, okay? Because there's already kind of curriculum review, curriculum writing pay that's in there. So I think we would look at that contracted rate so that we're not in violation of anything with Faribault Education Association. But I think what we would do is we would look at the size of the book and what it would take the average reader to read that, and then say, okay, this is the stipend or hourly amount or hourly hours that you are given to read this book. So if we say, all right, this book is 500 pages, and we run it through the formula, and it says it should take the average person 12 hours to read this book. It's probably a lot longer than that, but let's just say 12 hours. Then we'll take the hourly rate, multiply it by 12, add in any overhead, and then say, this is the amount you will get to read this book. If it takes you 10 hours, congratulations. If it takes you 20 hours, like it would take me, because I'm a slow reader, then I'm still get paid the same amount. That's my understanding of how this would work.
So they're getting paid to read it. What about the meetings and all of that? Is that all included in that?
So then it would be added in how many meetings you're having,
On top of that.
and then how long they are. So it would be, if we're having 2 or 3 one-hour meetings, those would be added in as well. Yes. Okay. So that people would be paid for their time, not only attending the meetings, but also reading. Okay. Any discussion around that?
Okay, just a question. Is there, and you can talk to other districts, a sample rubric that might guide some of the reading when people are in the process of reviewing a book?
So that is up. Once we decide to do this, then the next piece is I designate a designee that will start working on all of those pieces.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay,
This doesn't get into the nitty-gritty around that. This is just setting up that we will have a process in place.
yes.
Once we'd say, yes, we will, and this is what the process will look like, then I will have a designee that starts
Can
working
develop
on it.
those. Okay,
Yes.
perfect.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, actually, I was looking at rated books, and they do have like no hate, no profanity, no references to sexual, whatever, and they have these categories. So
Yeah.
if your person, you can refer them to that. That might help.
Number 2 on here, they said, it states one library media specialist or district media specialist or public librarian if the school district does not have a library media specialist. I believe we only have one district media specialist in our entire district. What happens if this person doesn't want to do this? What happens if they don't like the pay or can't commit to the additional hours? It appears that then we look to a public librarian to fill this role. What happens if we can't find this person? Do we expect this person to volunteer? Will they be paid? We've talked about that. So I think it's, since our language on there said shall, it's on us to find someone, either a public librarian in or around Faribault, that is willing to do this work. So if it's not our own, we can't mandate that who sits on this committee, all right, by name. We can mandate titles that sit on it, but not by name. So you even see it says principal on there. It doesn't say Principal Nick Jurens will sit on the committee. It just says a principal, all right? So I think because it says shall, it will be that we have to find one, and maybe it's a public librarian from Owatonna or something like that that says, I'll do that for some extra money on the side, you know.
Would we then pay travel?
Would we then,
Pay travel?
Mileage.
that's a good question, because that will have to come down to if these are in-person meetings or if these are virtual,
Okay,
okay? So,
I think too, that's another piece that we can revisit if need to. If that person turns out to be the person we can't find, we might have to revisit that section and
Yeah.
go from there, because they are hard to find.
okay? Any more discussion around that? Okay. Section 3, it says, is the principal and 2 teachers from our district? I would say yes, they're from our district.
Yep.
It states the one member of our administration would be, but it isn't clear about the principal and 2 teachers. My assumption would be that these people are from our own school district, but we might want to call it out. So, discussion around that. Do we want to change it so that it's just more clear to say one member of Faribault Public School District Administration, 1 FPS principal, 2 FPS teachers?
Do we want to add that for students too then? We want
Yeah.
it to
What,
be-
hang on, we're not, I love where you're going, but it's next on my list. All right, so I'm hearing head shake yes, that it should say 1
Correct.
FPS school district administrator, 1 FPS principal, 2 FPS teachers, 1 FPS library media specialist, or just leave it as 1 library media specialist?
Leave it as one.
Leave
We
it,
have-
don't.
Yeah, we have that, or district media specialist, or public
Yeah.
library. I
Okay.
mean, we have
Okay.
that kind of explained there. I think we're okay there.
All right, so 1 member of the, I'm going to put FPS, so, all right, going back to,
Or after include, can you put it in that sentence there? All members. This FPS committee shall include, because then if you're saying Faribault Public School Committee, doesn't it infer that these members are,
well, I think that this person's asking that it say, even if it said that, they might not infer that it's a
Okay.
Faribault Public Schools principal or teacher or something like that.
okay, we can be specific.
Are we getting stuck on it because it's, kind of stated for the other ones? But if you think of our other policies, we don't state Faribault Public Schools, human resources that's kind of implied because it's
Yeah.
our policy. So are we adding more than we need to just because the other ones are more explained? I don't know.
I think this was left, because remember, it came from MSBA, so I think it was left general so that any district could
Use
jump
this.
on it and use it. So I think by adding that in there, we're not changing
Right. I
anything.
agree.
We're just clarifying, nope, these are Faribault people that will be deciding what books are on the shelves in Faribault.
Right.
All right, we're not going to have a Owatonna or Northfield or Medford principal that sits on our,
Absolutely.
right. All right, so I'm going to say, all right, so section 7D2
D2,
will say 1 member of the Faribault Public School District Administration, 1 FPS principal, 2 FPS teachers. We're going to stop right there, okay? I know you want to jump to F, but we're
I was
not.
just trying to help.
I know. Any discussion on that, or are we good with that?
we can be fine,
Okay. You willing to give me that one, Wendy?
absolutely.
Thank you. All right. Hang on. So section 4, 2 members of the school district community with no direct connection with a request for reconsideration. Can these be staff members? I think if they live in the committee, or in the community, they potentially could be. I don't think it excludes them. How do we determine that they have no direct connection? I think that's a decision for
The committee,
the committee and whoever is overseeing the committee. Who is responsible for lining these people up? That would be my designee for the committee. So, most likely, so that everybody knows, that's going to be the director of teaching and learning. That's who it does it in most districts. The superintendent designates the director of teaching and learning to set up and run these committee meetings, okay? Any discussion on anything we talked about there? All right, last one, and we're coming up on 1 hour here, so we're doing pretty good. All right, 2 student representatives, age 18 or older, as appropriate to the specific request. Are these students currently enrolled at Faribault High School, or could they be in college? Many of our own seniors don't turn 18 until midway through their senior year. Does one day matter from them being 17 to turning 18 if they are a senior at Faribault High School? I'm going to take the second part of that first. Second part, does one day matter? Yes, it does. Okay, because the reason I say that is because the word pornography comes up.
Yep.
And if something is deemed to be on our shelves and is deemed by the committee that it's pornography, we cannot have students under the age of 17 that we have given that to, okay? So that part, yes. So do they have to be Faribault High School students? Or, I guess what they're saying here is, could they be Faribault High School alum? Or does that make them then a community member?
I would say they would be a community member.
Okay,
Yeah, they could be.
so I'm hearing you say, nope, they gotta be enrolled in one of our schools.
Correct.
Even if they're in PSEO, they gotta be still in high school.
Yes.
Okay,
Did you say they can be in PSEO?
yeah.
Yes.
They can be included.
Yes, PSEO.
Yeah. They can't, how about this? They can't have graduated, correct?
Correct.
They,
Should they have been allowed to graduate, yes or no?
Hey, we have some super seniors.
No. That's why I'm saying, that's why I don't wanna put an age on it.
Yeah.
Right.
I wanna say that they're still enrolled with us. Maybe that's a
Yes.
better way to put
There
it.
you go.
Yes. And we do have some children right now that are in preschool that are 5 years old.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
there's always going to be an oldest, there's always going to be a youngest, and we'll always have somebody 18.
I used to tell the ninth graders when I was high school principal that ninth grade was the best 3 years of my life.
I do think when we do that, we have to think the student members of this committee are going to change often.
Yes.
Because you're looking at somebody that's 18 in September, they will be gone by May.
Yes.
So,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you'll have new members every year.
And we might have new members every challenge.
right.
Yeah,
Especially with
Absolutely.
sports and,
Yep.
and
Absolutely.
different activities.
exactly. So I'm hearing yes, still enrolled.
Yes.
Do I need to come back? Yes, still enrolled? Yes. Yes.
yeah, they should be enrolled.
And I think they should be enrolled as well. So that answers that question. And then I answered the last question. And then they thanked us on here. Okay. So, any further discussion before we go into our next phase here, which should be fairly short? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All right, is there a motion to approve sending policy 606.5, library materials, to the school board as written by us here this afternoon?
So move.
All right, thank you, Nick. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Nate. Any discussion around this policy as we have written it here this evening?
I just think there's going to be more discussion at the school board.
I hope there is. I hope there is more
So it's probably
discussion.
going to come back to us.
So,
But right now, I think it's good to send off, right now,
any further discussion?
but it will get discussed.
Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of sending policy 606.5 as written here this afternoon, library materials to the school board, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6-0. All right, that is the only thing that's on our agenda? Next meeting is December 3rd, 2024 at 3:45 here in our boardroom. There are no more items to discuss. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So move.
Thank you, Tara. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.